Hey guys, how you doing? So Dan from Trading with Dan here. So today we're going to have a look at a video that the FDIC released yesterday, asking Americans to keep their money in the banks. So yeah, just quickly who the FDIC are. They are the Federal Deposit Insurance Corporation, and what they do is they will insure up to $250,000 per depositor in their FDIC member banks. So if that bank goes bust, then you basically you won't lose up to $250,000 that you have in here. So yeah, so first and foremost, we will just watch a little clip of the video. We won't watch it all because well, we don't necessarily need to watch it all, but so yeah, here's the video guys, real quick.
We're living in unprecedented time. At a time of a pandemic like this, it is way too easy to get confused and to have fear about what you should be doing with your money in your accounts, especially as you're looking at the volatility in the stock market and the financial sector. This is what I would like you to take away from this. Your money is safe at the banks. The last thing you should be doing is pulling your money out of the banks now, thinking that it's going to be safer someplace else. You don't want to be walking around with large wads of cash, and you certainly don't want to be hoarding cash in your mattress. It didn't.
Right, so there we go. So you can see they've got their soft playing music in the background, which is a bit condescending, isn't it? It's sort of like trying to calm you down when maybe you're panicking because you realise the banking system is in a bit of a mess. And yeah, when some of these guys tell you that you shouldn't take your money out, to me that basically screams take my money out. That basically would make me think, well, why do they need to come out and tell me this? Do you know what I mean? If there wasn't a need to, then they wouldn't. This is much the same as like they just don't want you to go and buy as many things as you want in the supermarket, because in the supermarket then will run out. So in much the same way that if you withdraw money from the bank, then you will run out. So that's a bit crazy, isn't it? The banks are basically pretty much, as far as I see, are saying that they'll run out of money. So right, yeah. So this is also what I found funny. This and it's gone. I don't know if you guys saw the South Park, because this is basically what the banks do. They basically are like big casinos. And they use your depositors' money, and then when they mess up, they then use taxpayers' money to bail them out. Whilst the whole time taking big bonuses and big fees for themselves. So yeah, this is a funny South Park's take on the banking system. So I'll play this for you real quick.
Stand now more than ever. You need to understand the importance of saving money.
But Grandma said I could use this money to buy whatever I want.
Okay, next please. Go on, Stanley. How can I help you, young man?
I got a $100 check from my grandma, and my dad said I need to put it in the bank so it can grow over the years.
Well, that's fantastic. A really smart decision, young man. We can put that check in a money market mutual fund. Then we'll reinvest the earnings into foreign currency accounts with compounding interest, and it's gone.
What?
It's gone. It's all gone.
What's all gone?
The money in your account. Next, please.
Hey!
Hello, Mrs. Fardickle. How are you today? Making a deposit, are we? Great. We can just put that into your retirement account and make it go to work for you, and it's gone.
Right. So there you go, guys. So that was South Park's take on this whole system as well. But anyway, right, I'll read through the article for you. So yesterday's chair of the FDIC released an astonishing video asking Americans to keep their money in the bank. Accompanied by a soft piano music playing in the background, the official said, "Your money is safe at the banks. The last thing you should be doing is pulling your money out of the bank and thinking it's going to be safer somewhere else." This is amazing, as I was half expecting her to wave a hand and say, "These aren't the droids you're looking for." As I've written before, there's 250 trillion worth of debt worldwide right now. It's actually 253 trillion. Student debt, housing debt, credit card debt, government debt, corporate debt, etc. Let's be honest, some of the debt is simply not going to get paid. Millions of people have already lost their jobs. Millions, more like 10 millions, of waiters and bartenders across America. This is what she says. She said millions of people, but it's more like 10 million, and barely earning anything right now because their businesses are closed. A lot of these folks have no emergency savings and to fall back on during these times of crisis, so they're going to be forced to choose to pay the rent or buy food. The government has already suspended evictions and foreclosures, which is a green light for people to stop paying their rent or their mortgage. And that means the banks will take it in the teeth. This is what happened in 2008. Millions of people across the country stopped paying their mortgages and the banking system nearly collapsed as a result. Today it is a similar situation. A lot of people are going to stop paying their mortgages, credit cards, auto loans, etc. And this directly impacts the banks. Businesses are in deep financial trouble too. According to Wall Street Journal, the medium small business in the United States has a cash balance that will last them just 27 days. As there are many operating with even a smaller safety net. The medium restaurant, for example, has a cash balance that would last them just 16 days. These businesses have been told to close down due to the coronavirus, and it is likely many of them will never reopen again. A lot of these companies also have debt, and if they close, those debts will never be repaid. Even big businesses are susceptible to failure. Every airline, cruise ship operator, hotel, retail chain, etc. is on the ropes, and each of these companies has borrowed billions of dollars, mainly to buy back their own shares. This pandemic could easily push several big companies into bankruptcy. You probably know that old saying, if you owe a bank $1 million and can't pay, you have a problem. If you owe the bank $1 billion and can't pay, the bank has a problem. So this is basically what we're seeing now. Countless unemployed individuals, millions of shuttered small businesses and bankrupt big companies collectively owe the bank trillions of dollars, and many of them can't pay, which means the entire banking system has a problem. I would note a lot bigger problem than we had in 2008 when the banks basically went bust. How much will these banks lose because of this pandemic? It could easily end up being hundreds of billions of dollars, even several trillions of dollars. Nobody knows, but it's not going to be zero, and it's silly to think that banks are immune to the coronavirus, or to assume that not a single bank is going to run into problems. Don't get me wrong, I'm not saying the banking system is about to collapse. There are stronger banks and weaker banks. Many of them will survive and others will fail. What I'm saying is there an enormous amount of obvious risk that threatens the banking system. As I've written several times over the past few weeks, anyone who says, no, that's impossible, clearly doesn't have a grasp on what's happening right now. Every scenario is on the table, including severe problems in the banking system. But the FDIC insists there's nothing to worry about. That is ridiculous. The FDIC only has $109 billion to insure the entire $13 trillion US banking system, so that is less than 1%. The FDIC also insists that they've always been able to prevent depositors from losing money. Not a single depositor has lost money since 1933, and that is true. But they've never had to deal with this before. Neither has the FDIC nor any bank ever had to deal with a complete shutdown of the economy or potential losses on this magnitude. The COVID-19 impact on the banking system could be 10 times bigger than the housing market meltdown in 2008. If the pandemic ends up causing trillions of dollars of loan losses, the FDIC won't have enough ammunition to fix it, and that doesn't even consider the trillions of dollars more in potentially toxic derivatives exposure. So to casually brush these risks off and then claim everything is 100% safe seems incomprehensible. It also raises an interesting point: why the FDIC is asking us to not withdraw our savings. If the financial system is so safe, it shouldn't matter to them whether or not people keep the money in the banks or not. Yet they still feel the need to specifically ask people not to withdraw their money and to tell us that we should keep cash at home. I'll reiterate the point that we have made again and again at Sovereign Man over the years. It makes sense to have some physical cash at home and safe. I'm not suggesting you keep your entire life savings in physical cash, but a month's or 2 worth supply won't hurt. That's very little downside. Your bank probably only pays you 0.01% anyhow, so it's not like you'll be giving up a ton of interest income. And given the FDIC is specifically asking that you shouldn't do this, as a prudent person might wonder what is really going on. Right, so there we go. So this is an article written by the Sovereign Man, and yeah, so you know things are dire when the FDIC is having to come out and basically beg people not to withdraw the money. I mean, what are they worried about? They clearly aren't doing this as a public service announcement just to protect you guys from someone stealing the physical cash that you have. They're clearly doing it for their own purpose. And yeah, I've heard from basically hedge fund managers and people in the industry that are literally drawing out like their daily limits every day, drawing out 10 grand in cash a day, just so it's not in the bank. I mean, like you said, they're not really getting any interest there. They're only exposed to risk. Maybe some of these guys have more than 250,000 in the bank, so I mean that's another reason, especially for them to take it out. But yeah, hey, so something to consider, guys. So remember, this is not financial advice. I'm not a financial advisor. Always do your own research, and I'll speak to you guys soon.